Great. Welcome everyone to our March Hunger Free Community Quarterly Meeting. It's really a pleasure to see all of you today. And just to review the agenda, we're going to just share, get to know each other a little bit and do some updates. One of the particular questions we have for folks is, what are some of the impacts that you've observed in your community as a result of recent administrative policies and actions? And want to try to get our hands around what some of that might be. And then we're going to have a presentation from the Southeast Texas Hunger Free Community Coalition, and we'll have some policy updates before we wrap. So, Aaliyah, do you mind introducing yourself, and if I missed anything that should be on the agenda?
No, that is great agenda-wise. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you all. Happy March. My name's Aaliyah. I'm the Alliance's Hunger Free Communities Associate, and it's great to see you all again. And then I'll pass it to Karen for her introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Karen Ahrens. I am the U.S. Policy Manager for the Alliance. I started in September of last year.
Thanks, Karen. And it's so great to have you as part of the team and appreciate you spending some time with us today, since you spend most of your days on Capitol Hill and can really share a lot of great information with us today. For our group introductions and group sharing, I'm actually going to pause the recording.
Well, hello, everyone. And thank you for your interest in policy and for sharing what is happening on the ground in the states. Hearing from you, it emphasizes that states are becoming the places where action is happening. Because in Congress, there's a lot of inaction and waiting until the last moment. I did want to build upon what Lance was saying in the importance of building relationships. And that's something that I'm trying to do here as new to the Alliance and stepping into a new session of Congress and a new administration. So I'll share with you that there's not much that's harder or worse than never having met a staff person and then walking into an office and say, stop doing that. You know, so I'm trying not to do that. So I hit the road running on the first day of Congress when they hold these open houses, or many offices hold open houses, especially if they're new, and to get in on the ground and find out who will be their legislative assistants working on agriculture policy and or health policy. So had a couple of early in the doors that way, and working to and build relationships, getting to know the staff members better, as well as informing them about the importance of federal nutrition programs, and trying to share with them specifically what it means, what anti-hunger programs are doing in their state or in their congressional district. And as many of you have shared stories, I hope that you are also sharing the impacts with your elected members of Congress. It's important for them to hear from you on the ground, in many cases, your constituents. And you have the opportunity to vote or not vote for that member of Congress. So you have a special ear to those. And when it's, I am preferring and trying to do, since I'm right here in DC, many meetings in person, but we'll also be doing some video meetings, and hope that I can invite some of you to sit in on those meetings. So it's good to have, the DC presence of the Alliance along with constituent presence, and I will try to do that. So we've touched upon some of the things that are going on, and although none of what I'm talking about is really a laughing matter, because in many cases it means so much to the health or the opportunity for people that you serve. But sometimes you just got to use a little bit of humor when you're dealing with these situations. So if I try to use the key word here is try to use a little humor from time to time, please know that it's only an effort to lighten things up in what is sometimes very stressful and demanding times. So in the nail biter, last minute, another down to the wire action of Congress, they did pass a temporary extension to fund the government through the end of this fiscal year, which is September 30th of 2025. And that was a continuing resolution of Congress to allow them to spend money. And there are two brighter points of light in there, in that the continuing resolution does allow for extra funding for the WIC program in what they estimate to be the needs to keep the program fully funded through this time period. So that was a good thing. The other thing is some additional funds for the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, CSFP. What was not included was additional funds for TFAP. So in those cases where things are continuing on at existing levels in a times that we see today of inflation and rising prices, flat funding equals a cut. So as you were sharing, Anne Marie, about food pantries experiencing increasing demands, continuing on from COVID, and now seeing increased demands, paying more for food, and flat funding, it does not paint a positive outlook. So that's why our advocacy is really important in trying to not allow further cuts to happen. And as we go forward, there's a budget resolution, one that's been passed by the House of Representatives and one that's been passed by the Senate. So this budget resolution is a broad set of instructions to the houses of Congress. And the budget resolution in the Senate directed the programs under the Agriculture Committee jurisdiction to find $1 billion worth of cuts. And in the House version of budget resolution, to find $230 billion in cuts to the agricultural appropriations. So we don't see any of exactly what is being planned to achieve those cuts in writing yet, but everyone's looking and waiting for that to be released. In the meantime, we anti-hunger programs kind of have to guess at where they can find the money to make those cuts. The largest pot of money under ag appropriations jurisdiction is in the SNAP program. So we are anticipating cuts to the SNAP program, although the leader of the House Agriculture Committee, G.T. Thompson, says that no cuts will be made to the SNAP program. And other Hill offices who are Republicans also parrot or repeat this information as well. There will be no cuts to SNAP. So a couple of things to shed a little light on that. Number one, G.T. Thompson has also said in the past that freezes to the Thrifty Food Plan, the basis for the amount of SNAP benefits, when he believes that freezing that level where it's at now for 10 years is not a cut. So when he says there will be no cuts to the SNAP program, and it could include, oh yeah, SNAP benefits, clarifying, he said no cuts to SNAP benefits. Thanks, Minerva. Freezing the Thrifty Food Plan could be a way to achieve absolutely flat funding for the next 10 years in order to not spend any more money there. So he can believe and say that this would not cut SNAP benefits. So that's one way that reductions in spending could happen. Another way is to increase or change work requirements, requiring people who are older to continue to work longer for at least 20 hours a week to obtain their SNAP benefit, or do volunteer work or those qualifying things that count as work requirements. So changing work requirements to apply to people who are older or people who have even younger children. Numbers that have been floated include parents of children to the age of 6 and older. And we all know that's could be a real burden for families that are single parent households when childcare is hard to find and expensive. So work requirements, thrifty food plan, and then the other way is through shifting costs for the SNAP program back to state governments. So in this way, that Congress could actually say and believe that they would not be cutting SNAP benefits because they're shifting costs to the states. Most of the states out there have to pass balanced budgets. Many states out there already struggling to meet a balanced budget. So trying to shift some of the payments for SNAP food itself from the federal government to state governments are increasingly being seen by anti-hunger groups on the Hill here as a way that these cuts of $230 billion could be made. Other things I'm hearing as I visit offices are that members of Congress themselves and or their staffs are saying, oh, well, they'll never go for that $230 billion that the House wants. So it'll be somewhere in the middle between 1 billion and 230 billion, which is a really big gap. So and they both houses of Congress have to agree on the same amount for these bills to pass. So they're saying it'll be somewhere in between, but it won't be as high as 230 billion. So that's what they're saying, and I'm passing that along to you. Let's see. So what we can do about it is continue to be here working together, because as our president of the Alliance, Eric, says, now isn't the time to try and go at things alone, that it's really important to be working with one another in collaboration with other organizations, so you're not out there doing it alone. And that's one of the great reasons about us being the Alliance and the hunger-free communities. What else we're doing is, bringing some of our other groups who are Alliance members along to our Hill meetings so they can share different perspectives. And it's really great when you get in the circle and you have this mutual sharing of potential things that could happen if there are cut, and the reasons why these nutrition programs are so important. So focusing on the importance not only to people being able to have enough to eat, but the impact on the economy, on local businesses, and all those things of why federal nutrition programs are so important. So I always don't want to leave people feeling like there's nothing we can do, but there are things we can do. We're doing them, and we'll continue to try to do them.
And thank you, Karen, for that update. One thing I would add, as you all hopefully know, is around SNAP Choice. The Alliance advocates for maintaining what the current policy in SNAP, not to restrict the types of foods you can buy. Obviously, SNAP has restrictions, which we're actually advocating against as well. Like we'd like to see hot and prepared foods that you can buy in a supermarket be eligible for SNAP. But we know that, as Luke mentioned earlier, there are a number of states that are looking to further restrict what SNAP can purchase, and we are actively advocating against that. We've also, where where there are state bills that we think are problematic. We're also bringing in some of our partners. I know a number of you have been part of some of these meetings with the SNAP Choice Alliance, which is not related to the Alliance on Hunger, although we do work collaboratively with them. They've been doing a lot of work in this area, bringing in industry partners and other groups to kind of have a stronger voice on restricting SNAP. So, for those of you who are doing work against some of these bills or potential waivers in your states to restrict SNAP, if you haven't already connected with us, please do, so that we can make sure we're working in concert and supporting whatever it is you're doing. And the other thing I'll say, Karen has been a real champion on Capitol Hill all the time, taking our message up there. I'm sure many of you have great relationships with your members of Congress, but if you don't, if you'd like an introduction, if you'd like us to facilitate a meeting, please let us know. We're happy to do that as well. I think that's all we had for the formal report. But we'll take any questions. But first, I'll go ahead and pause the recording as well. Back on. Thanks, Karen. So we're going to go ahead and move to our next agenda item. And thank you for your patience, Lisa. So we have Lisa from the Southeast Texas Hunger Free Community Coalition, one of our newest partners, and she's going to share with us about the work that they're doing there in Southeast Texas.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? My name is Lisa Coates, and I am a newly appointed community coordinator for the Southeast Texas Hunger Free Community Coalition. We just started our coalition in 2024. I came on with the Southeast Texas Food Bank here in Jasper, Texas in July of 2024. Since then, I've been working under a grant with Baylor University, Collaborative on Hunger and Save the Children. And I'm relatively new in this field. I did come from a short background with Meals on Wheels. I worked with seniors and ran a senior center here in our local rural community. Then moved over here with the food bank to take on this Hunger Free Community Coalition to build it from the ground up. The mission of our coalition, of course, is like others. It's to collaborate and create long-term solutions to end hunger here in our Jasper community as a pilot, and then to move forward into other communities, because our Southeast Texas Food Bank serves 9 counties here. So there's a lot of work to be done. It is a little intimidating because I'm new in the field, and to see coming into this, the changes with our administration and all of these different things coming down the pike, it's a little bit intimidating. But to be here on this call with you all and just to learn and sponge up on the different things that are going on is really solidifying my drive to be a part of the solution. So thank you very much for having me today. Our region has unique needs in Southeast Texas. We have rural food deserts here, economic disparities. We have a lot of disaster-related disruptions from hurricanes and floodings here. So many families in our region rely on a combination of resources, including food pantries, community meal programs, faith-based assistance, and government programs like SNAP. We just moved into our new facility here, J.H. Rowe Resource Center, where we will house many nonprofits in the future. But so far, our local health department has moved in to our facility, and they work with WIC. And then we have SNAP navigators that are here in our offices that are in the field now, working with families and encouraging them that we will do whatever we can to advocate and help them in the event that they do lose benefit. Our key focus areas right now as we build our coalition Of course, it's community collaboration. We're building a strong network of nonprofit schools, churches, local governments, and community leaders to work together. Resource navigation, our goal is to help families to access resources without unnecessary barriers, whether that's the pantries, our school programs, or assistance like SNAP. Since I've been on board, I've been able to fill a gap with our local school district, Jasper Independent School District. We were able to put some mobile rolling pantries into the schools at Jasper Junior High and High School. These operate independently and are donated through private donations, and they provide hygiene items as well as after school snacks and even some family meal boxes if a student needs those. And it's discreetly distributed through the counselors that are helping students to pursue their career goals, or even students who may be couch surfing on the weekends, maybe are being raised by their grandparents and don't have the availability to maybe sign up readily for the programs that might be in the schools already. We're collecting a lot of data and just trying to identify where we will not cross over on other programs and services that are available, but we want to be able to come alongside the existing programs and be able to give some help there. We appreciate being a part of this network and the opportunity to learn, because I know there are coalitions working towards similar goals across the country. And I'll be attending in Waco the conference with Baylor Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty again this year. So just learning. So while our coalition doesn't engage yet directly with policy advocacy, we recognize that federal, state, and local programs play a role in hunger relief. So our focus is going to ensure that people in our community have access to all available options to meet their needs. And it just takes people being aware, and it takes people with a heart to go after this work, because it's very stressful and it's difficult sometimes. It's messy. So we want to ensure that our coalition expands and grows, that we strengthen our partnerships and identify funding opportunities, just sustain our work long term, and learn everything that we can to contribute to this broader network. And I thank you again for the opportunity to share about our work here in Southeast Texas. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Thank you, Lisa. I know I have a question, but first I want to open it up for anyone who has questions or comments. Certainly appreciate the work you're doing. And I will see you in Waco. I'm
Yeah.
also going to the Baylor's Come to the Table conference. That's always a great conference.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Let's see if I have my geography right. The extreme fires and things haven't been really in your area of Texas, but maybe drought and things. Am I right on that?
Yes, ma'am. Summer before last, we had some wildfires that got out of control here in the local area that caused some damage. And then we have quite a lot of tornadic activity and flooding here in our part of the country. So we see disaster alerts quite often. And it does impact families here that aren't able to really get out and get the services that they need. So to be able to bring our local sector leaders in on the coalition like we have, I find it's going to be a powerful statement going forward. So I'm excited but nervous all at the same time. But there's always hope. You know, there's strength in numbers, and when we come together, I think that we can make a positive change even in the most difficult and extreme circumstances.
Thank you, Lisa. Luke, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry if this is kind of more technical and in the weeds, but I'm just curious what your mobile food pantries kind of look like, what the format is like. I asked because we've had a mobile pantry program for 8 years and are kind of in a reimagining and phase. So just kind of wonder what those mobile food pantries look like.
as far as the infrastructure of the pantry itself,
Yes. Yeah.
so we have, you know, I don't know how to answer that question because I haven't really been involved directly with the mobile food pantries. My main position here has been to build the coalition. So although I do work with the Southeast Texas Food Bank, their main office and mobile food pantries are in our Beaumont area, which are about 75 miles away from here. So I do know that they have these mobile food pantries, and I've met the administrator that handles the mobile food pantries, but I really can't speak to that because I have not actually seen them in action or seen them at work. But it is something that if you will send me a link, I can find out for you, and I can have the person that's over that particular program call and speak with you. And I'm sure she could give you some very valid information on that.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. And it's so nice just seeing new people kind of joining the anti-hunger movement. It always feels like inspires the rest of us. So thanks for being here and sharing.
Well, thank you, because some days I feel like a big dummy.
Well, you have a whole community supporting you. And if anyone else has information on mobile food pantries, go ahead and put it in the chat and
Yeah.
let Luke know as well. Thank you. Roz, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Minerva. My name is Rosalind Pillay. I am the Community Engagement Director with Hunger Free Vermont in Vermont. And Lisa, I relocated from Texas last July, and I couldn't. I wimped out. I couldn't take the heat. I have to say I couldn't take the heat, and I left. So, but I am desperately missing HEB, and it's ready to eat tacos. I mean, anyway, we're all about food here. So my question is, I would like to know if you have found in the past 3 months, it's only been 3 months, but if you found in the past 3 months that your partners, the alliances organizations in your alliances, whether you all have had to make any policy changes around barriers to people accessing the food in your area. I'm just curious about how I'm going to say it regarding the whole question on documentation and who gets who is allowed to access what. I'm using language, just in terms of what I've heard. I'll stop talking here. I'm just wondering if you all have had to pivot, to change. Has there been any impact in the past 90 plus days? Thank you.
And who is this question for?
You ma'am, in Texas, in your area.
In Texas.
Thank
of course,
you.
We're facing the same challenges as everyone here in Texas, and particularly working in the food bank. Yes. Like I said, we have a resource center now that we're trying to now facilitate, and we've hired SNAP navigators to go out and help families sign up for this assistance. So it's very difficult to know that we may be experiencing cuts in services. Folks are very worried that their benefits may lapse or not move forward in the manner that they need in order to feed their families. So I've only been here, like I said, 7 months, just trying to form the coalition. But yes, we've had to tighten up a lot because we really don't know exactly what to expect coming down the pike. So that is why I am here, is to learn everything that I can from other coalitions or other agencies or other advocates that can instruct us in our region as well as across the country. So I don't know if I answered your question because I'm not that knowledgeable, but yes, we are seeing the same strife and challenges as everybody is right now, for sure.
Thank you for the question, Rosin, and for your response, Lisa. I think it is worth mentioning there have been a slew of executive orders. None of those change at this point eligibility requirements for any of the programs, right? And while we know that the states, have some flexibility in how they implement things at the federal level, we haven't seen any changes to eligibility. So those are the kinds of things that we would monitor and keep you aware of, if there were changes that you would be required to implement around the federal nutrition programs. So one of our partners is National WIC Association, for example, and we've been in close communication with them about how they're messaging about WIC. The executive orders can sound very scary, in terms of not allowing undocumented immigrants to access different federal nutrition programs. Their message is they don't want to cause any panic. At this point, there's been no eligibility changes. So they're encouraging people to try to dispel any myths around that and just kind of continue business as usual. So hopefully that's helpful. We do only have a few minutes left. So Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your story. And, again, welcome to this work. We're here to be a resource for you and really appreciate everything you're doing. Aaliyah, I know you have a few announcements before we wrap. So I'll
Yes,
turn to you.
no problem. Thanks again, Lisa, for your words and your work that you're up to. I have a couple just brief HFC updates for y'all. So one, thank you to everyone who submitted an application for this cycle of Zero Hunger grants. And also thank you to those of you who volunteered to help us with reviewing the grant applications. We're now in that internal and peer review process until the end of March, and we'll be announcing the recipients of the grant funding on April 9th. So you can stay tuned for that, really exciting. And then the last announcement that I have is that our next in-person regional convening will be for our Western partners in Seattle, which is going to be on June 6th and hosted by Amazon. So we'll be sending you and just the network an official save the date soon, and more information is to come. But if you are in the Western region, we'll be super excited to see you in person. And that's all the updates that I've got. And yeah, well, thank you again for being here today. I guess we have 4 minutes left.
Well, thank you everyone for your time today. As always, we certainly appreciate all the work you're doing in your communities. And again, we're here as a resource. Feel free to reach out anytime. And thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be in touch.
Good to see y'all.
See ya. Thanks.